I actually need to pause to talk about this a little bit. Like, dude, all the layoffs that are happening in gaming, like, at the risk of sounding a little bit cynical, have you ever heard that intention is effortless? You ever heard this? That, like, it doesn't matter how internally honest and virtuous someone's original intention was in a lot of the cases. What matters is the actual execution. Like, for instance, let me take a really simple example. If my wife, every time she was talking, in my head, I was thinking wonderful, warm, thoughtful, joyous, loving things. And then, when she's like, what do you think? I went, yeah, seems good. That's like basically how I talked. You know, it doesn't matter the intentions, it's like the impact. Stevie, I like that. Impact is more important than intent. And I think that in the gaming space, there was a lot of really, there's been a lot of really poor execution. Just like a lot. Because I think that some studios are being closed down because they got a bunch of money, hired a bunch of people, and then got to work making a very mediocre product, not because any of the individuals that are working on it are somehow the incompetents in the industry, but because the plan being presented was a weak plan. And I think that there's a huge, well, I shouldn't say I think, there is a documented glut of people that went, oh my gosh, I think I want to get into games. And I don't mean from like I'm an individual in college studying to become a games programmer or something like that. I mean like people with money going, oh my gosh, we should invest in games. I see that crypto and blockchain stuff has tons of money constantly flowing in and out of it. And it seems like that thing called games that I'm kind of vaguely familiar with, maybe we should just make one of those because it could connect to this well. You know, there's a lot of that sort of behavior. And so I think that there's a substantial number of studio closures that are actually not this result of greed that people love to say, because I mean, if you look, it is a bunch of people created a business and they themselves are shutting the business down and losing their own jobs. But it's like the poor planning, the poor management that sucks. It just really sucks. And I mean, I think that another thing that I think is kind of stinky, and this is a very thing that's very personal to me. Let me share something that's very personal. Okay, you ready, my friends? You ready? I'm about to open my heart to you. You've heard me talk about this before. That sometimes when people will say, "Hey, Sean, I want to become a streamer. What should I do?" And you'll see advice that is along the lines of get a regular schedule, do collaborations, this sort of thing. And what you've heard me rant about before is that these are kind of like second layer, right? These are second order. The first order thing that you must be good at if you're a broadcaster, or if you are making YouTube videos, or if you're writing a book, or if you're making an album, what you need to do is you need to be incredibly interesting, like every 10 seconds. As an example, here's an exercise I want you guys to do. I want you to go download Audacity, which is a audio recording program. You'll probably have a crappy mic connected to some device if you don't have a mic already. And I want you to talk. I want you to set an alarm. I want you to hit the record button. I want you to have no other visual stimulus, nothing on your phone, no videos you're reacting to, just nothing. Just sit there and just talk for 5 minutes. Stop, put it back on, and listen to yourself talk for 5 minutes. It hurts. It's physically painful because it's so, I mean, you're just listening, you're just like, oh my God, I'm just still talking. Oh God, I'm still talking. That's what people are tuning in for. People are tuning in to be entertained every few seconds. And so, when someone says to me, hey, I want to become a streamer, what should I do? I should be like, okay, how do you become interesting every 10 seconds? Like really, like every 10 seconds, I want you to try to be compelling either with your gameplay or with your speech. And let's assume that no one's watching the game. Really figure out how to be entertaining every 10 seconds. Like there's this sort of core essence of the thing, the first order thing. How do you make the thing good? And when it comes to any creative product, this is how I think about anything creative. What makes it literally, actually good? The thing itself good. As an example, if you say to me, hey, we're making a game, we have Kevin Hart is going to do the voice of one of the characters. We also have a distribution deal with a great publisher in China, in Europe, in South America, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, and right here in North America. So we have the entire global everything taken care of. We also have, partnership X, Y, and Z, and we have social features that plug into X.com and Facebook and Instagram. We have everything. Like, okay, is the game fun? You know what I mean? Like, is it fun? Is it actually fun? I think that it's actually quite difficult to do that, but it's not unknowable to do that. And there's this kind of weirdness, and this isn't just games, this is like all over entertainment, where people will so consistently be emphasizing and talking about the thing that's easier to describe, which is like, oh, we have this great partnership with this person. Oh, we have industry veterans from big company A, B, and C. So you know that we got the, like, players don't play the pedigree of the developers. Players do not play the great partnerships with publishers. Players do not play the celebrity status of the voice actors involved. They play the game. They just play the game itself. Is it good? And I think it's very easy to get kind of sucked into this notion of, well, it's just a marketing issue. That's all that it is. This is a perfectly delightful game, but really it's the marketing's the reason that it didn't pan out. Like 10 times out of 10 when there's a game like that and I've gone and looked at it, it's that the game is just not that good. It's not horrific, it's just not that good. And in a world where we have unbelievable games, like, oh my gosh, I could go play Dota 2 later. And if I'm not interested in having teammates, I could fire up Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering. And if I'm not interested in anything multiplayer at all, I still have more stuff to go hunt in Animal Well. Like, dude, there is literally so many amazing, amazing games that being a 7 out of 10, even an 8 out of 10, doesn't really cut it a lot of the time. It's just pass-fail. Is it excellent or not? And therefore, how does one make a game that is excellent? And so, a lot of the, if you go look at a lot of the companies that shut down, full divisions, things like this, not in every case, but certainly in some of them, you would look at what the announcements were 2-3 years before, their early press releases of what they were going to do. You could read about the roadmaps that they had on their Discord. You read about all these other partnerships that they had with person XYZ, and it's just like interesting to me how it's not just games, it's all over the place in all forms of entertainment. How rarely there is discussion about the actual game itself and what makes the game good. And this is why I regularly talk about how much I admire David Wolverton, David Farland, who was an author and a writing mentor who did a lot of the business side analytics of things, talking about markets and market sizes and things like this, but was extraordinarily precise and diligent about discussing what are the actual creative properties and creative qualities in this novel, in its first pages, that are doing well or not. One of my favorite books is his book, Drawing on the Power of Resonance in Writing, where he is literally discussing like how to name characters in a way that is emotionally resonant. This is not, oh, hey, sci-fi works well with this age group, so you should consider making your fantasy book a sci-fi book, right? Again, these are the sort of like outside things. This is like zooming straight into the actual creative work and the creative act, and making the thing that the customer experiences, making that thing good. And so, finally, coming all the way back to the industry layoffs and things like this, I do sometimes have this frustration when I see some of the businesses that have shut down. Not all of them, but some of them, where it feels like there just was never a focus on the only thing that matters. Not enough focus on the only thing that matters, which is how do you make the game good? Literally, how do you make it good, period. And hired all the right people, got all the right partners, and then just made a game that was not good enough, and there you go, poof. I don't know. It's one of these things that tilts me from time to time. Guys' philosophy says, why didn't they just make good games? Well, this is another point, which is there is intention and then there is process. So for instance, let's say, give me a genre. Someone give me a genre that is not Warcraft 2. That is not RTS. Give me a non-RTS genre. Okay, Bruce Malt, MMO, perfect, fantastic. This is a really good one, okay? You want to make an MMO, there is a production side of things, which is that we need to hire engineers to solve the complicated technology needs, which would involve having thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of people in one location at the same time. How do you synchronize this? How do you make sure that you are not putting too much of a burden on bandwidth needs? Because if you have 10,000 dudes, each of which has 1 megabyte of data that you're trying to transfer every minute, like very quickly you have a prohibitively large bandwidth cost. So we really need to solve a lot of the technical issues and all that. So you know what? We should really hire a technical team right away to get started on that. My God, the M, one of them stands for massive, okay? So we're gonna need to have a lot of stuff. We should actually get an art team to make sure that we have enough assets created, because we're not just gonna have enemies and monsters, we're also gonna have rocks and trees and water, and we're gonna need a whole bunch of needs there. So let's get this team built, right? So again, I'm talking about production. It seems like we should hire all these people, but like, what are we making? Very literally, what are we making and how do we even figure out if it's fun? It can feel from a production standpoint intelligent to really grow the engineering and the art team very, 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 very quickly, because we'll need to make a lot of assets for art. We'll need to solve a lot of tech problems on engineering, so we may as well, we gotta hire them, right? But what happens if they're building towards an unclear target? What's the quote? It's like, if a man knows not to which port he sails, then no wind is favorable. Isn't that the perfect quote? If you don't know what your destination is, it's impossible to make the statement, wow, we did a great 3 months of effort. If you do not know to which port you sail, no wind is favorable. Arg, aye, Captain. And so, it can be very easy to convince yourself, okay, let's make a small-ish art team and a small-ish engineering team while we're trying to figure out what the game is. But, again, until we really know what this game is, it's hard to be confident that anything we've made is actually killing it. And so when it comes to doing something like figuring out what would make a good MMO, like I don't play a lot of MMOs, I don't really know what that would entail. We'll need a problem statement. We'll actually need a problem statement to determine what problem are we solving. What goal, if we meet, would excite and delight players? Concretely, why would they like that? I'm very passionate about this idea because, I mean, frankly, I am not the best at any of the games that I have played. Now I'm going to shift the focus back to content creation. I'm not the best at any of the games that I have played. I am not providing substantial educational value in a lot of regards like I used to. But I'm a good speaker, and I work very hard to be a good speaker. And I think a lot after every stream of like, man, when was I kind of tired? When was I not doing a good job? How can I like do that a little bit better? And blah, 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 blah. It's always one of these things that like I experience it very personally. When I've been doing a mediocre job at streaming, I literally can see sometimes in real time my viewership dropping as I'm being a uncompelling speaker. Right now, my viewership has been holding very steady, which is an indication to me that I've been doing a good job of it, and so on and so forth. And so I think that there is almost a beauty to that kind of brutality, where if I am not actually providing an entertaining service, people just leave. And I like that clarity. I like the clarity that it provides. And yeah, so finally, to put a little cap on things, I think that in the games industry, I think that there was a lot of poor planning with a lot of incredibly high-quality employees, but a lot of poor planning that just resulted in a lot of businesses shutting down that in a lot of cases shouldn't have been formed in the first place or could have been planned differently. So that's my rant. It's my rants in a pants.